All right. Welcome back to I-86 After Dark, everybody. It is Ginger Hammer, Buffalo Bob, and of course, we are glad to have here former NHL defenseman who played with the Buffalo Sabres along with the Vancouver Canucks, Philadelphia Flyers, the Nashville Predators, St. Louis Blues, and the Montreal Canadiens. We have Rory Fitzpatrick, our Rochester native here. Rory, first and foremost, thanks for joining us, and how are you doing?
I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm doing really well. I'm glad we have enough time to list all those teams in the podcast there. So,
Yep. Absolutely, and got to watch you play quite a few games up here as well. So it's definitely been a lot of fun. Back at that time, and yeah, we're grateful to have you here. So, what we want to do is we want to kind of open up the conversation, and first thing we wanted to jump into is how did you get involved in hockey as a kid?
my dad was involved. I don't know exactly how he got involved because he didn't play growing up, but he was one of the coaches and ran the Rochester Lions Club at the time here in Rochester. My older brother played. Was tagging along to the rink with my older brother and went on the ice whenever I could get on the ice. So it was a family thing here. My younger brother also played, so we were on the ice quite a bit, and so my dad got me into it and kept playing.
Interesting. So, like, when did you learn first starting to skate? Like when you were like 3 or 4? Because at least that's like the age limit that most like pros at that level would probably be skating.
Yeah, 4 years old was about the age, and like I said, I went to the rink with my brother and skated with kids his age, and learned that way. But yeah, I started early, 4 years old, and we had a beginner program and that my dad ran, and was able to get on the ice quite a bit.
There you go. I mean, at least you had ice around you, Rory. Let's be
Yeah.
honest with ourselves. Rochester, Buffalo, I've been there. It is really goddamn cold. I think we can
Yeah.
all agree on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And growing up, we also had a backyard rink. My dad did a backyard rink, old school style. Now they put the wood around the boards and they fill you put the tarp down. Back then, you had to wait till the snow. Then my dad would go out and pat down the snow with a piece of plywood, hose it down, freeze it over. It was quite a process. But back then we had cold enough weather and enough snow to do that.
Yep, of course. And of course back at the time I ended up living just outside of Buffalo. I was actually north of the city and it was fun. We got some cold winters back in the day. I remember some of those times and being able to skate just in my yard. So it was a good time.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Good
without a
stuff.
doubt. Without a doubt. But you know what, though? I gotta confess something. I am really jealous that you actually had a backyard rink because I live on Long Island and it is a total bitch to make a rink down here because it's always either warm or it's hot. And I'm just like, I wish I had that. I mean, yeah, it snows, but it's not consistently cold like up in Buffalo or Rochester for that matter. And I'm like, I go to the rink, locally when I was a kid, as I've skated for about 30 years at this point, 25 years or whatever the number is. And next thing you know, I've always wanted a backyard rink and we just didn't have the weather for it. So I'm kind of jealous, Rory.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, it was an opportunity to get on the ice whenever we wanted to. The ice isn't as great as a normal ice rink, so you learn to deal with certain things and wore different skates. Friends would come over, they'd wear my skates, I'd wear bigger skates or whatever we had in the house just to make sure they had the right skates and lots of great times, and a friend of mine had a pond right next to him too, so we did the pond a lot as well. And back then we had the consistent winters where we could, skate weeks and weeks and not worry about that thaw.
Yeah.
Wow, there you go. I mean, like I said, I'm jealous. But I do want to ask you, because you played for a handful of teams throughout your career, obviously Florida, Buffalo, Philly. I don't know how the fuck Tom memorized all that, to be honest.
It's called Wikipedia, my
Yeah,
friend.
so as soon as you're reading it off a list, yeah.
Yep. Ah, damn. But no, but in general, though, it's impressive that you played for all those teams. Like, what did it mean particularly? Because you're, a Rochester boy and you grew up in the Western New York area. What did it mean to you to wear the Buffalo Sabres crest, especially that you're basically a Rochester native playing so close to home?
Yeah, it was amazing. I obviously grew up, a huge Rochester American fan. We didn't get to go to, many Buffalo Sabre fan, but, Buffalo Sabre games. But, we grew up, knowing all those names that played, the Gilbo Peros and, Tommy Barrasso. I could go on and on of the names that played there. So, coming home and having an opportunity to put on hometown jerseys was amazing. Obviously had tons of friends who grew up Sabre fans. So it meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to my family and friends that I got to wear that uniform.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
very neat. And I remember the whole thing that with the Pierre Turgeon trade that actually is what initially kicked it off. And then just being here for so many of the good years where you guys were in the playoffs and had a couple good runs with everything too. And it was always interesting. And one of the things that always stood out, especially I mean, offensively, of course, love seeing what happens, but defense is one of the things that to me always stands out on a lot of different teams. And one of the things that a lot of fans sometimes don't understand is how the defense will work, or they'll overlook different things. So what would you say is something about being a defenseman that is overlooked or misunderstood as part of the game?
Well, I think you have to take pride in things that, don't necessarily get the big raves and the big applause, and you have to be, willing to do, those things to be successful at defense. And, it's great to score goals, and it's great to, you know, get assists and be noticed. But sometimes some of the best D-men out there are the ones that don't get noticed at all. If you get through a game and you're like, man, did that defenseman play? A lot of times that's a good sign, and people don't realize that. But if you can get through a game and do the little things and help out in your end, it's a huge advantage for your team, and it's something that's overlooked. And like I said, the fans want to see goals and they want to see different things on the offense, but the defense is a lot of times what win the game for you.
Yeah, I mean, you're holding down the fort,
Yeah.
and one of the things that stood out, especially watching you play the games that you did, especially in your time here, is that a lot of times it wasn't flashy, but it was very effective, and that's one of the things to me that stands out, especially among the better defensemen, is that you're just playing the right way and you're doing the little things and you keep that simple game, but you're doing the things to be effective and help drive the play forward. So that's one of the things I noticed personally just watching you and watching the pairings that we had at the time. It was just a lot of little simple things, not flashy, but very effective.
Yeah, I think it's, once you get to the NHL, you have to adapt, right? Most of us come through youth hockey and junior hockey or college hockey, and we're able to participate on the offense. We're not just defensive defensemen, put up points in junior, put up points in the minors. But in order to stay, you have to kind of give up a little bit of that part of your game and concentrate on the little things in the defensive zone and keeping things simple, and letting the higher skilled guys do their job. So, that's definitely something that's overlooked. And you see a lot of great young defensemen that are offensive that don't make it in the NHL, and some of them are just unwilling to give up that portion of their game. And for some of us, that's how we get to the NHL and play in the NHL. But most of us come from a background of being able to contribute offensively.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, as I was gonna say before was is that the game has changed so drastically within the last like 25, 30 years. Probably since like I remember when I was a teenager, I was 13 years old at the time, and I remember seeing you play because I live in Long Island. I'm an Islander
Yeah.
fan. And I remember my dad took me to a game against you guys when you were with the Sabres. And I remember you were on the ice, and I'm just saying to myself that, wow, this guy is really skilled with the puck. He could make plays when he create chances. There's all these things happening. And you were playing with some of the best guys like that were underappreciated. Guys like Dimitri Kalinin, Henrik Tallinder, Tony Lutman, etc. Obviously you for that matter, but you played with some really good players. Was there any sort of like chemistry that was within those balances within that time with frame, I guess you could say, with Is there a guy you had particularly you had like the best chemistry with?
Yeah, so I think Henrik Talander is a perfect example of that. I had some good chemistry with him. Brian Campbell,
Yep.
Brian Campbell was the opposite of me. It's in a lot of ways. So we offset each other really well. Um, I think those two are probably the guys that stand out. Jay McKee, I had played a little bit with Jay McKee in juniors, and having the opportunity to come back and play with him in Buffalo. So, I think some of those guys were my partners for most of the time. So, I think the chemistry was really good between us.
Absolutely. But did you like have a preference of who you like played with the most, or it didn't really matter to you at that point?
No, growing up through junior, the minors, and I was always had different partners, so I was always very adaptable. Most of the time I did prefer to play with a left-hander. But, for me, like a Campbell or a Henrik Talander were guys that, offset my game pretty well. So, really enjoyed playing with them and was successful.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
And yep, definitely. I mean, those were some good combinations I remember back at that time, and you guys were very effective in terms of how you were able to control plays. And thinking about that, of course, you carved out a really nice NHL career and weren't a flashy scorer, but did a lot of things to be effective. What was your mindset that helped you stay resilient and valuable across the teams that you played with?
I think being comfortable in my role. I think that, when you break down an NHL team of 20, 25 guys and 20 guys on a roster during a game, you can argue, with some guys in the minor, maybe they're better skilled, they do this better. But when you're a certain level of player, you have to be comfortable with your role. And, I was willing to accept a role that kept me in the NHL for a long time. I, was on the roster in the NHL for over 500 games, I think. Just being able to accept my role and know that if I tried to do something outside of that, then I wouldn't be successful. So, um, I think that that was probably one of the biggest reasons for me, having the success and the longevity I did in my career.
Yeah, yeah. 15 years in the league is not something everyone accomplishes. So no, congrats to you on that. And of course, what you mentioned, it showed. I mean, you
Yep.
were able to have success across a wide variety of teams there.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Absolutely. But you obviously you played for, the Sabres, the Vancouver Canucks, etc. But mainly the Sabres because that's how everybody got to know you at that point. What I want to know most is because I remember, like I was saying before, that old 506 team, which you guys were amazing and one of the biggest surprises in that year. And I remember just saying to myself, how incredible these guys are. I know the ending wasn't what you expected, but how did the locker room culture shift during your time with the Sabres, especially through coaching or within roster changes?
Yeah, so I think that, when I first got to the Sabres, we were going through ownership issues. The league, I think, ran the team for a little bit, and then, Tom Golisano came in and had rescued the Sabres. So, the culture was shifting. We had some great veterans in our room, but we also got some players through trades with, Chris Drury and Danny Briere came in and Mike Greer. And, you can go down the line and those guys were, becoming superstars at that time. They weren't acquired as superstars, but they had evolved into that leadership role during the Sabres. We were all, a close-knit team. We're all around the same age, and uh, so the culture was developing, and I think Lindy Ruff and the coaching staff was, fantastic for that group of players that was there at that time.
Yeah.
It,
It was a great mix all across the board. I mean, you
Yeah.
guys had great offense. Defensively, you complemented them really well. And that 05-06 run, I mean, I know it didn't go exactly how you wanted it with Carolina, and there were a lot of injuries that happened at the time. But the fact that the team still got as far as they did and showed how much depth there was and how much character there was too, because you guys were playing for each other and you had that goal.
Yeah.
And I mean, to get as far as you did, I mean, I think just a bounce here or there, you guys could have taken a really big run.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things got to go right in the playoffs, and you see teams that enter the playoffs with heavily favored odds, and things happen, and you hit a bad streak, just like you would in the middle of the season, or you have run into injuries, and a lot of things have to go right, and we had a lot of things going right for a long time, and
Yeah.
um, and the depth was great, but it was tough towards the end with the amount of injuries we had at defense. And, um, like I said, a lot of things got to go right. And,
Yeah.
they did for a long time in those playoffs. And, unfortunately, we needed one game to get in that Stanley Cup final and get a break and get some rest and get some guys back in the lineup. But, there's, everything happens for a reason, I guess, but it was not easy, even though we weren't expected to get there. We were, every round underdog and fought through every round, and it was an exciting time to be with that team.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
What I will say is, I just want to say thank you for beating the shit out of the Flyers because I fucking hate Philly.
We were down on Broad Street last year, so
Yeah,
we were down
Yeah,
there.
I can't stand Philly, but I just want to say, I know you played for them, but I'm just
yeah.
saying at that time,
No,
I
they're
just want to say thank you for doing that. I appreciate it.
yeah, they're a hard city to like, but it's a great city to play in when you're
Yeah.
when you're part of it. When you're not part of it, you hate them. But when you're there, you understand why everybody hates them.
Oh yeah, I mean, I actually, my wife and I, just a quick story. My wife and I went to a Bills Eagles game a couple years ago during a monsoon, and after they lost in overtime, I got greeted multiple ways by Eagles fans, and
Sure.
one was it was me, it was me, my wife, and then a friend of ours, not Tom, but somebody else. And we were walking from the monsoon, trying to get out of the rain, and I see a group of Eagles fans, and I said, "Good game, guys. Drive safe." And I'm like, "Go fuck yourself." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
And he got flipped
Yeah,
off by the 10-year-old.
yeah.
yes."
We
So,
when I was in Philadelphia, we attended an Eagles game with I attended an Eagles game with my family, and I had young kids at the time, and we sat up high, and there was an elderly lady walking up the stairs, and she was taking her time, and obviously play was going on, and someone behind us, finally, sit your fucking ass down, and they have no regard for age, anything. So it was an interesting city to play in, and but they don't mess around.
yeah.
Yeah, even New York City's like that too.
Yes,
Oh,
very
yeah.
much so.
Oh, the pressure in New York is skyrocketing. I can confess to that. I mean,
Yeah,
being an Island fan is never easy, but it's easy to be a Ranger fan because of the the bright lights and the mentality of expectations every year. But I want to ask you about Philly. Is it
yeah.
true that when you wear the uniform that you're considered a hero when you play for them?
I yeah, either a hero or a loser, I guess. They don't give you much you know room for error there. But yeah, I think in Philly, if things are going right in Philly, and you're winning, and you're competing, then they treat you like a hero. So I think that goes for Buffalo in a lot of ways too. I think Buffalo does that as well, and they're passionate, and they support you. But if you're not doing what they expect, they're going to let you know that too.
Yep.
Well, I think the only difference between Philly and Buffalo is, Buffalo fans, they don't throw shit at other people. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's right.
unless you count a jersey on the ice, which I think happened not that long ago, if I'm not mistaken, Tom.
Yeah.
Well, that did happen, but I remember being at Tux and Pucks night one year where an Ottawa Senators fan was getting crap thrown at his head because he was passed out drunk in the 300 level. So I do remember that, and then of course seeing about 15 people get thrown out. So I have seen that. But then of course going to a Buffalo Toronto game at the KeyBank Center last time, there was a big ass fight that broke out in the 300 level, and I'll just say one of the aisleways got closed off for a while because some guy got his nose broken in or something happened. So so no one was going out of section 314 through that one aisleway. But
Alcohol is an interesting it's an interesting thing for sports
it
fans.
is. It is. And I've
And
had beer dumped on me before at a Bills game by a
Sure.
Washington fan. And of course of course he was stupid because security was right next to him. So he got tossed. But
it it could have been worse. Let's be honest.
yeah.
It could have been so much worse for you. I mean, literally, you, my friend, did not get flipped off by a 10-year-old at the goddamn bathroom at Chickies and Pete's, okay? I will forever hold a grudge with
Right.
Eagles fans for doing that to me.
Right. I got you there, and I have not been flipped off by a kid, at least at any of our hockey games or any of our football games. At least not yet. Who knows what can happen in the future, but that
When we
has not
were
happened as of
Yeah,
yet.
when we played Philadelphia in the playoffs, they had to park the bus inside. We all had to board the bus inside because if you went out into the back parking lot, there was an overhang that
Mhm.
fans would be standing at, and you could get a lot of things thrown at you. So the bus had to
Oh
pull
boy.
into the arena, into the docking, and we all had to load in there, and then police escorted out of the town for all those games that we played in Philadelphia.
I
Wow.
was I was gonna say, did you have your fair share of shit thrown at you when you were walking towards the bus or anything like that?
No, not that I can remember. Like I said, in the cities that especially Philly, the bus would park inside. But for the most part, there's some great cities in the NHL. So mo for the most part, the behaviors, well, and people are waiting and are pleasant for the most part.
Absolutely. But one thing I do want to, fixate real quick was the '06 season. And there was a rumor, maybe you could confirm this to me or Tom can as well, is that you were supposedly rumored to be voted into the All-Star game. And I want to ask you, the '06 All-Star game, which was a writing campaign that was made you basically a called hero, how did you first hear about it? And what was your initial reaction when you found out?
So actually Marcus Naslin, and I was actually injured at the time. I had a broken ankle and was in the about to get in the shower, and Marcus Naslin got off the ice and said, "Hey, you got a second?" And said, "Do you know anything about the Vote for Rory campaign?" And I said, "No." He said, "I got a call from my friend in Sweden, asking me about it." And at that time I didn't know anything about it. So I basically just shook it off as rumor or, misunderstanding. Obviously, it was coming from Sweden, so who the hell would believe that? And then, it was probably a week later until I heard about it again.
Because I remember when I was a kid, I remember seeing ads because, like I said, I have connections to the Sabres. Is that I remember seeing some ads for your fit with your name on. It's like vote
Yeah.
for Rory. I'm like, at that time I was 13. I'm like, what the fuck did he do to
Yeah,
deserve
yeah.
that?
Yeah. So
It's like- I, I, I just remember that, and I'm just like very vague about it. Like, you know what? I'm just gonna go on NHL.com and just for the joke of it, just type in his name, put it on the
sure.
ballot, and he'll go on his way.
Yeah, it was like I said, it was about the start of social media. I mean, I didn't have any social media. Very few guys even, knew about it. I think there was MySpace and maybe Facebook was just coming along.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a complete surprise. I was taken aback by it and thought it would be really quick and over quickly, and it just grew and grew.
I mean, literally, never have I ever heard any NHL player ever get that kind of treatment to be like, "Hey, let's just fuck with him and just go to the
Yeah,
All-Star game." I
yeah.
think the only other player this happened to, but it actually became a reality, was John Scott when he got
I was
elected
gonna
to go.
say it was like
Yeah,
his last season with us, I think.
yeah. So I think it stemmed from, the fans disagreeing with how the process went for the All-Star game. I'm not 100% sure. But I think I think it stemmed from that, and if you're going to let us vote, or we can't have a say. I don't remember the exact of it, but that's how it happened, and they manipulated my votes so that I didn't go in. And I think when they redid it for John Scott, the NHL said, let's try to take advantage of this, and
Yeah.
got behind it. So I was the guinea pig, and John Scott was the benefactor of that. Actually, he got to go, and I think he was the MVP and got a bunch of money. So good for him.
Absolutely. Because I was gonna say was as a follow-up, like, did you ever thought about like even fighting the NHL about that, say, hey, people voted my name into the ballot and I deserve to at least get some sort of like recognition for it.
Yeah, no, I wanted nothing to do with it. Like I said, I tried to, you know, downplay it. I did what Vancouver asked me to do. I did what the NHL asked me to do. I think TSN or ESPN had offered me, some money to go down and be a broadcaster, or be part of it from a that standpoint. And I decided to go to Whistler for the weekend instead, and just kind of step away from it. It grew to a point, where I couldn't leave my house in Vancouver. So it, like I said, it had grown legs that were unimaginable. I would show up in Ottawa, and there would be, you know, you couldn't move in the locker room because of the press. And um, it was something that I was in a hurry to get it over with, and move
Sure.
on from it. So I did not want to argue that. And now looking back at it and seeing how John Scott made out, maybe it was the wrong play, and maybe I should have pushed it. But um, I and I got a lot of positive feedback from players on the ice and other coaches, and everything. So from that standpoint, it was good. But I really wanted to get it over with
Sure.
for myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because sorry, Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, and as I say, Vancouver, beautiful city too, because we actually had the opportunity to go there together actually last year. It was just about a year ago, and
Yep.
we actually checked out a game at the Rogers Arena and got to see Tyler Myers' 1,000th game in the league and be a part of that. And it was a good time. A great building, great fan base. This dumbass forgot to get our jumbotron picture because we actually did end up on the new big board over there, but
Yeah.
it was all good and it was a great time all together. So like all the cities, great fan bases wherever you go.
Yeah, Vancouver's a beautiful area. I think you know, it's got it all, and just an amazing place. Hockey or not
Yes.
hockey, but obviously they love their Canucks out there.
Yep.
Absolutely. But I was going to ask you before was because you mentioned something interesting about the Canadian press with the whole All-Star ballot thing.
Yep.
What about in America? Like when you came to the States?
Yeah, it was big. I mean, I had to go down, and I don't remember the affiliate, but uh, I had to go down to affiliate in Vancouver that was the affiliate of ESPN. Um, my defensive coach in Vancouver was Rick Bonus. His daughter was going to ASU, and she was well aware of it, and they were participating with the voting in the dorm rooms. So obviously bigger in Canada, everything is for hockey, but um, even when I went to the States, and still run into people that mention it, that are all over the country.
Yeah, because there's a story, because I've been to Toronto a handful of times, is that the media treats the players like trash when they don't play very well, but
Yeah,
it's like there's a lot more pressure in a Canadian market since you've been on both sides, is that you played in a Canadian market versus to like an American market where it's a little more relaxed. You're not really worried as much on the pressure in a city like in New York or anywhere in the country really in terms of hockey. But if it's like Vancouver or Toronto for that matter, next thing you know, it's like, oh my God, everyone recognizes you. You could
yeah,
be with your family at like Starbucks and you could be getting yourself a latte and it's like, that's Rory Fitzpatrick.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like everybody just has a different approach, I guess.
Yeah, so I mean, I played in Montreal, which is obviously hockey royalty. And they know everybody. They know the eighth defenseman. They know the fourth liner. They know everything. I mean, in Vancouver, that year, I went to a 24-hour pharmacy to get my kid something. He was sick at 3 o'clock in the morning. I went in and I got somebody, asking me about, our record. And, you walk down the street and people are stopping you. So Canada's a different level. And when you get into the playoffs and you get far into the playoffs, it becomes, a different level of celebrity than you get in the States. And, we had Roberto Luongo in Vancouver. He had a hard time leaving his, condo during the playoffs, and down in Florida, he could go and do whatever he wanted and eat wherever he wanted and never be bothered and, not even really understanding that he was a hockey player. So, Canada's a different breed. And, I was lucky enough to play in many different areas in Canada and really get to feel like, kind of like being a New York Yankee. And,
Yeah.
I don't know if that bothers you being a Mets fan. If you're out Islanders fan, I assume you're a Mets fan,
All
but
right.
I'm a
Well,
Red Sox
both
fan to
both New
really
York
piss
teams
everybody off.
lost.
But yeah,
But the
Roy,
Blue
I
Jays
but
did, but the Blue Jays did come back last night. They
yes,
did actually, and then of course Springer ends up hitting the 3-run homer, ends up putting them up 4-3, and basically now we've got the World Series with them and the Dodgers. So,
yeah,
and that was one of the first things on my phone this morning is I got a notification from the Blue Jays. It's like, hey, we have World Series packages now, and I'm like, holy crap, with how much that's going to cost.
yeah, exactly.
well, I was gonna say, how the hell did you know I was a Mets fan?
I just assumed with the Islanders. I think that's the mesh. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Yeah, you were right. I
yeah,
am a Mets fan,
yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah, so I just assumed, but I'm a Red Sox fan, so that'll piss everybody off. But um,
Nice.
yeah, but that like I said, playing for the Montreal Canadiens is similar to playing for the New York Yankees or the Dallas Cowboys, and those type of level, LA Lakers, Boston Celtics. So um, I think there's very few markets in the U.S. that can match that, but definitely Buffalo, Detroit, Chicago, all New York, give it a run for money.
Yeah, and Montreal is definitely on my short list of places I want to go watch a game at some point. So,
Yeah,
so it's definitely just because of the tradition and everything
yeah.
there.
The
So,
hit, the history there is incredible. It's
Without
very,
a doubt.
yep,
yeah.
absolutely. And thinking about your time here in Buffalo, can you share a moment that made you feel really deeply connected to the fans of the Sabres or to the city in general?
Oh, that's a great question. I think uh, after winning the second round versus Ottawa and flying home that night and being greeted at the airport, was just an amazing feeling. And to see that support, the excitement they had for us, and especially being part of the team when we went through the struggles with the ownership, like I said, and attendance wasn't,
Yeah,
all that great and record wasn't great. But to get off that plane and see that was, truly memorable.
Yeah, I mean, Sabres fans are very loyal at that point, but it's big. I feel so bad for them because it's like they're so passionate, but they're also like resisting of buying tickets at least at this age of this recording. It's like, how are we supposed to support them if they've been so abysmal within the last 15 years? They should just call you up and be like, hey, Rory, do you have a few minutes to play defenseman for one
Yeah,
game or three? That would be great. Thanks.
yeah.
Give us a call.
I don't I'm smart enough to know that's not the answer, but Buffalo's a hardworking city. They want, obviously everybody wants to win, but they're looking for effort, they're looking for commitment, they're looking for that extra, you know, like I said, extra effort from their players. So, they are loyal, but they're also, like I said, they're hardworking, they're blue collar, and I think if the record and the effort's not there, then why spend your money? And money is, you know, tight now for everybody. It seems
yeah,
everything's expensive. Um, and again, I don't even necessarily think it's, winning or being a Stanley Cup contender. They want to cheer on they want to cheer on players that care and are showing them that it was worth their money to buy those tickets.
Yeah, I
Well,
agree. And it's something I've seen here locally too. And I've been to try to get to games during the season, and I know there's been some rough ones I've been to, but there's been some great ones I've been to.
Yeah,
And thinking about how we've started off this season, I know we had the loss in Montreal last night, but I don't think it was for lack of effort really. It's just a few bounces that really could have gone a different way. And I mean, goaltending's been pretty good, and defensively, I know there's a couple injuries, but
yeah,
offensively, I mean, we have started to score, especially the last several games. And then you look at the win against Florida. You look at the win prior to that, getting 8 goals. I mean, things like that. So offensively, I think it's there, and I think it's going to click. It's just going to. I mean, we're only 6 games into the season, so I'm not writing it off by any means,
yeah.
and anything can happen. But
I think
but it
you're
is something. As long as the effort's there, that's really one of the biggest things.
Yeah, and I think what if you see Port, I know I think my son went to the game the other night. He paid $8 for a ticket. So,
Yeah.
but I think that's just years and years of disappointment more than what we're seeing, in today's game or yesterday's game or the game before. And it's kind of like show me more, and we'll get back there.
Sure.
So, I think that they're going in the right direction, and hopefully, for them and for the fans of Buffalo that things get turned around quickly and they can compete on a nightly level.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll have to take a ride to see the Amerks at some point too, because I know they've been doing some good things out by you.
Yeah, they've had good seasons the last couple of years. I know there's a lot of excitement, and for years they struggled too. So it's been good to see them back in the playoffs and back competitive, and people are excited around here. Again to cheer on the Amerks. We have very loyal people here. We have season ticket holders that have been there forever, and they're the same way as Buffalo, and
Yeah.
they've been very supportive of the Rochester Americans for a long time.
Yeah, great building to watch a game too. It's definitely with some of what I've seen in the AHL. It's one of those. They've got a great passionate fan base, and a lot of that comes over here into the Buffalo area too. And great place to check out a game and see the up and coming talent.
Absolutely.
without a doubt. So after hockey, because you've had a pretty long career, 15 plus years in the NHL, you took a jab at politics. And I didn't even know about this until
Yeah,
like at least around the time you and I spoke, Rory. I'm not gonna
yeah,
lie. I
yeah.
had no idea that you even did it. But you did run for Monroe County legislator after retiring as the town supervisor. What, and give me the honest to God answer as much as you can. What inspired you that shift from sports to politics in terms of service?
Yeah, so I live in Arundecoy, New York. I've, lived here for my whole life. Obviously, I, during the winters lived somewhere else, but I've lived here my whole life, grew up here. We owned a business here for 10 years, and I got to know the residents really well through my business. I learned, listened to all the crap that they were spewing in the deli and what they were unhappy with, and our town was being run not from the town hall, it was being run from the county or the state level at the time. And they were placing, who they wanted inside that town hall as supervisor. And after, few conversations, I got talked into it and gave it a go, and somehow won my first election. So got to do that for 2 years, and uh, really enjoyed the job and absolutely hated the politics. So it was a great learning experience.
I was gonna say,
See.
did your friends inspire you, or like, did your wife inspire you? Like, did any of your teammates ever come up to you and say, "Hey, you'd be a pretty good politician. You should give it a shot."
Well, yeah. Well, so when I played in Rochester, everybody obviously called me the mayor of Rochester because I knew a lot of people. I was from here. But no, just talking with people, definitely not my wife, definitely not my close friends, but just people around wanting to see a change, wanting to see a non-political person in that position, kind of, talk me into it. And at first, I was going to run for a town board spot, and nobody was going to run for the supervisor position against the guy running. So I took a stab at the supervisor position.
Good stuff.
So, so you were basically an outcast, and you just kind of just threw your hat and you just said, "Hey, I'm gonna try it. Hopefully,
Yeah,
I win."
that's right. Complete outcast. Like I'm not a political person. I didn't grow up in a political household, and was actually not a registered party when approached. So, I had to register with a party and get involved. But my goal was to run it from a non-political position and try to run it, as a business with, obviously politics is different, but just be responsible with people's taxpayer money and make sure they're getting the services that they were promised, and trying to do right by the town that I grew up in and had lived for 40 something years.
It's a
There
good
you
way to
go.
do it. And we all know what politics does now. It's like if you're not in that inner circle, it's like Lord help us all because we don't want to know half the stuff that goes on in there. But it is something where the fact that you wanted to take that approach, it's a good
Yeah.
thing, and I wish more people would do that.
Yeah. I think George Carlin said it best when he said it's just a big club and we're not in it. So,
Exactly.
I, I,
Yeah,
I think that that was probably the biggest thing that I learned. Even after winning, there's people that are career politicians that don't want to see you be successful, and
Yeah.
that's it's a sad part of politics in this state country right now is the you know not accepting what's happened and working to make it better, but just trying to make it worse, with who you don't like. So it's definitely not built for the people, but I gave it a shot and tried to run it that way, and um, did it for 2 years. Like I said, I love the job. I love, you can help people, learned a ton, but the politics parts of it was a struggle for me.
Sure. No, I totally get it.
Yeah.
And when you were a town supervisor, did your mindset echo the same competitive drive that you had during your time in the NHL?
Yeah, and I think team culture and a lot of things that you learn as a professional athlete or a lifelong athlete and in a team environment. You're trying to do what's best for the team and getting in a role, like I explained earlier, definitely helped my approach. But yeah, you have to be competitive, but you also have to have thick skin. And when you're a professional athlete and not everybody likes you. Actually, very few people like you except for, your hometown team usually, and then sometimes they don't even like you. So you have to be thick-skinned and you have to do what's right. You have to show up to work no matter what. And you take a lot of those values and put them into that position. And for me, I, though I only did it for 2 years, I think I was very successful and got a lot of things done and got a lot of things done on both sides of the aisle. So being an athlete, being in a team environment definitely played a big role and shaped the way I did my job on a daily basis as a politician.
yeah.
Awesome to hear. And I will say, Irondequoit, beautiful area. I've been out there many times actually, and especially in the summer, beautiful spot to go right on the lake.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, imagine that. I mean, I've never been to Rochester. I mean, I've been to Buffalo a handful of times, but never have I been to Rochester. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to throw my hat out there. No pun intended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're north of the city. We sit on the Lake Ontario. We're an interesting town where we have three of our borders have water, and then we're bordered by the city. So we have the Genesee River on our one side, north of us is Lake Ontario, and then we have the Irondequoit Bay on the other side. So we're
Yep.
surrounded by water here, and it's a great place to be in the summertime.
That
Yep.
sounds a lot like Long Island, honestly, because Long
Sure.
Island on the map is surrounded by water.
Yep.
Like on the edge of it is like Nassau County, and then Suffolk County's like in the middle, and then Montauk's like in the far end. Everyone's like, "Where's the lighthouse?" You're gonna have to drive 3.5 hours, brother. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
But what I was gonna say was is that it's surrounded by water, and we actually had this conversation with Darius Kasparaitis a little while ago, and he said when when he played for the Islanders, I thanked him for that. And he said that he loves Long Island, he loves Jones Beach, and he's like, I'm a big fishing guy, but I love going down there in the summer. And he basically said he loves watching the Blue Angels because they practice, their moves over in the summer, like from May to like June before the big show and Fourth of July.
Okay.
So they're there all the time. And
Sure.
no, Casper was really cool about it. He was just like, I love Long Island, I love to fish, but I'll never.
Mhm.
I think it was like the Oak Inn Bar, I believe it was called,
Yeah.
and he was like so pissed drunk, and some guy went up to him, and he said, "Are you Casperitis?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's me." And he says, "I fucking hate you." The cops had to come in
Yeah.
and just scuttle him out of there. He's like, "Get out of here before you get arrested."
Oh man. And I will say Lake Ontario fishing is a beautiful thing in the summer. I will
It
say
is.
that it's
Yep.
great to get out there. But no, awesome community though. And then of course for people that don't know what's out there, Seabreeze is another attraction nearby,
Absolutely.
and
Yep.
a lot of people go there in the summer, and just so many things to do in
Yep.
Rochester. It's really come a long way, especially I would say last 20, 25 years, and just so many more things to do now. And it's really become a year-round place.
Sure. Absolutely.
You can thank Roy for 2 years for that.
Yeah, that's
Of
right.
course. Of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, if there's anybody you want to thank that's going down there, just thank this guy.
That's
He
right.
was
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
he was cool.
Heavily involved.
Seabreeze has what I think the oldest wooden roller coaster in the country, or one of the oldest roller coasters. So,
Yeah.
pretty cool attraction. Here in Aranaquoit, and the zoo is borders our town too. So, it was a great place to grow up, and glad I could raise my kids here.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Was there, like, when you were in office, was there a policy that you implemented that you were the most proud of?
Policy wise, no. I think I think what I'm most part of is, as a Republican town supervisor, I had four Democrat board members,
Hmm.
and we worked together on everything, and we did not fight anything as far as that goes. If it was good for the town, we did it, whether or not you would consider it a Republican thing or a Democrat thing. If it was good for the town, we did it. We worked together, on a daily basis, and we're very successful with that. So I think that that's,
It's good.
especially what you see going on in our country now. I think that that's the most, one of the proudest things that I can say is that there was you know, no partisanship here when I was the supervisor. We worked in a bipartisan fashion, and we worked for everybody in the town. And I don't think there's a lot of politicians that can say that
Yeah. And
today. So it's, like I said, if you brought me an idea and it was considered a Democrat thing and it was good for the town, we did it. And if I brought something forward and it was good, we did it. And we walked, and they're friends to this day. And the guy that's running this year is a Democrat. He was on my town board, and I'm voting for him. So
yep.
um, we're we did a lot of great things, and I think working together, like I said, is by far the most proudest thing I did when I was a supervisor.
Yeah,
That's a
that's
fair
really
statement.
cool. And if only more people could take that same approach, and just be able to work across the aisle, and
Yep.
a lot of things would get done, and
Yes,
you were able to
absolutely.
accomplish that.
Yep.
Absolutely. But I think Tom has one last question. And before we
Sure.
get to it, Rory, we just want to say thank you so much for coming on tonight. And it's been an absolute pleasure having you.
No, I appreciate you guys having me. It's been great.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you're always welcome back anytime. And of course, this will kind of touch home because it is about the Buffalo Sabres. But in thinking about it, with your town supervisor position too. Now, if you were to design a Sabres themed community project today, what would it look like?
Oh my goodness. Community theme. Give me give me an example. Give me some more detail. Like what?
Could
Maybe like a street
be,
hockey, like a
yeah, could
concrete
be,
place
Okay,
that
yeah,
yeah, or
so
like year round. Yeah.
yeah, you know, for me, it's youth would be youth based. I think anything we do, and inclusive. I think the more kids we can get involved in hockey and familiar with hockey, whether they're playing or they're fans, I think creating an event that allows as many kids as possible, no matter their financial background, their ability to get involved in hockey would be something that would drive me to want to be involved. I think obviously we want to continue to grow the sport of hockey, but we also want to make sure that it's available to as many kids as possible. And I would be happy to be involved in something like that. I know that's not specific, but it would definitely be youth based, and it would be an attempt to grow the game and give the opportunity to as many young kids as possible.
Yeah, that's really neat. And of course, I mean, hockey is one of the best sports around, and just having been around it and getting to know people that have played, of course, see people play, and even myself a little bit too. And then, of course, my dad, who was with one of the original Junior Sabres teams back when the team was founded, and just learning so much about the sport. It's just there's so much history there. There's so many fun things about the sport, so many ways you can take it. So absolutely. I mean, that's great,
Right. I
with
think
being
just
able to grow it.
Yeah, and I think there's so many ways to be involved in it too, right? Like you don't necessarily have to be a player to be involved in hockey. I mean, you guys are doing a podcast that's got hockey involved. You can, like I said, there's different avenues to be involved with the game, and I'd like to see as many people um, be involved with it as possible.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And it's funny you said that, Roy, because you mentioned the podcast to us, and the
Yeah.
whole purpose of I-86 After Dark is to represent not just New York. We want to represent Buffalo, and we want to represent Long Island because, Interstate 86 is the connection.
Sure.
And the fact that you chimed in on that for us, I think that really spoke to the heart because honestly, we take a lot of pride with what we do. And me and Tom do this consistently all the time. And we're actually going to be doing a handful of more guests down the road, and you were just one of them. And we really wanted to have you on, and and we take a big sense of pride in that, honestly. And it feels good to kind of have a human connection with an NHL player who represented that city.
Yeah, perfect. I appreciate you guys having me on. I wish you guys the best of luck and more people that are out there talking hockey and promoting, Buffalo, and I'll even say Long Island for you today.
Yeah,
It's great. So I think, like I said, the more people we can reach as a community, and hockey's a community, no matter what you're doing
Yep.
in it. And you guys are part of that. So, best of luck to you, and hopefully you're able to get some great guests on here and
Yeah.
continue what you're doing.
Yeah.
absolutely. We appreciate
Absolutely.
the kind words, honestly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you guys.
100%. And of course, we wanted to thank you for your time tonight too. It was great to have you on, and certainly we enjoyed the hour that we spent together here, and we'd love to have you back in the future if you'd like to come on and talk more about the sport and talk about more about your playing days as well.
Awesome. Have me on. Reach out anytime you want. So,
All right, sounds
yep.
good. All
Awesome,
right,
guys.
well,
Thank you.
thanks, Rory. We
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks
it.
for having me.
No
Appreciate it.
problem. Anytime. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, there we go. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording.